Hi, my name is Brittany Boylan, and I am using iMovie to share my literacy narrative. To start out from my memory, my parents were always readers, and we always had lots of books. Everyone read before bedtime, and I was read to a lot. Personally, I never enjoyed reading. I wasn't a very strong reader, and I think very quickly I realized that I couldn't read as well as my peers, and I liked to be read to, but did not like to independently read very much. I know that I love The Giving Tree. I think that my mom says that whenever she was tired, she would try to skip a page, and I would catch her on that she skipped a page because I had just memorized it. I loved that story so much and wanted to be read all the time. So that's a fond memory I have of elementary text. But beyond that, I don't really remember too many stories that I just fell in love with. I can remember some specific projects that I worked on as a child. Um, One class in particular, we did a photo essay where our teacher got a grant to get old cameras, and it was, we printed the pictures out from film, but that we had a topic and we got to take different pictures and printed them out and then wrote a story about it. And that was really exciting for me. It was student driven, and we got to decide our topic and what pictures we wanted to use and what we wanted to write. Another teacher had a class store that we had the opportunity to run outside the cafeteria at lunchtime, and people would come and buy erasers and pencil grips and that sort of thing. And I remember loving every aspect of that sort of project. Another fond memory I have is a specific high school teacher that was younger than all the other teachers at our school that kind of had older teachers, and he was really engaging. And also, he recommended me for English A the next year, the higher level English, after I was just in the regular English. So, something about his teaching and his ways not only, I think, drove me to work harder and be more successful in class. I think he also noticed things that I was doing that were strong and praised me on that. But then, that was great to be able to move on. Beyond those memories, I don't have very many great memories of reading. It wasn't something I liked. I remember dreading Dear, Drop Everything and Read after recess, and I also remember pretending to read books that were beyond my ability just because a friend was reading it or it was material that seemed interesting. I think that what was interesting to me, the material that was interesting to me, quickly grew beyond my reading ability. And I just learned to be a really good pretender and learned to kind of fill in the spots. As far as technology literacy is concerned, the majority of my knowledge base came from friends or I think just troubleshooting myself. I can remember when my family got a new desktop and AOL and Instant Messenger were the thing that I was the one responsible setting up the master account and emails for both my parents. So I very quickly had more experience than they did and learned to teach myself. I do remember in middle school coming home and instant messaging with tons of people at the same time, and that was kind of what we did after school. Everyone uh, talked and chatted, and we had lots of different conversations going on um, about lots of different things, and I think that really enhanced my typing and, helped my literacy skills really more than I think my parents would have suspected back then. They just thought I was a chatty teenager, but I think that really is where a ton of vocabulary and multitasking skills, learning to troubleshoot when it's not quite working right, and typing, where that really grew from. One thing that really stood out to me from the Hagood article, and that I've also learned from a couple different technology classes I was taking this summer, is to start small, to really choose one lesson or one app or new technology that you want to include, and just twiddle with that until it becomes comfortable. I think very often teachers get these big grants and lots of technology, and they're overwhelmed with all the different opportunities, and you really just need to, get your toe in the water and get started. In the school I'm working at right now, I know that the classroom I'm in, they were given a class set of iPods last year, iPads, and they're often neglected. They're used just to play games or as a treat, and they're not really used to integrate literacy. Looking back at the Tompkins text, there are a few things that stood out. From my memory, I think my schooling and the projects that we did most were more behaviorism based. I think that it was very teacher centered. But when I think about the projects that stood out and that I really loved, those were examples of student centered, more constructivist things where students were doing inquiry learning and using examples of the engagement theory and maybe some social linguist theory also to build to build my understanding. So things like the photo essay and the class store really did stand out, and that was something where I was driving the bus as opposed to the teacher-centered curriculum that I think we mostly followed. The seven principles, I think some of them I'm not quite sure, and it's a mix. There were some things that we didn't have. I don't think we had a balanced approach to literacy. I think there was a trend and a way of teaching, and that's what teachers stuck with as opposed to trying different things when something wasn't working. I don't remember very much scaffolding or differentiation. I know that I struggled with reading all along the way, and the form of scaffolding was just to be pulled out to a support group where oftentimes a teacher would dumb things down, make them a little bit easier so you could fill in the proper answer. Teachers weren't necessarily scaffolding and helping us grow individually. And I think that it's not that they didn't care or weren't doing their best. They didn't have the tools and strategies to really help students succeed. There were lots of things that we did have, though. I remember all my classrooms being a nurturing classroom and a fairly positive environment. I always liked school in general. I think that I hope the teachers were aware of learning theory and student development. I think lots of the teachers in my district had advanced degrees and hopefully had experience with that sort of thing. They just were probably following a fairly strict curriculum and were using basal readers to teach us as opposed to more authentic ways. So I absolutely agree with the seven principles, and I think that if teachers can really work to integrate all seven of those principles and focus on the balanced literacy approach and the scaffolding and the differentiation, those are maybe some of the things that were lacking in my education and might make learning to read more enjoyable for the masses. Thanks for watching.